What we're not going to do in 2025 is put things on our credit card that we don't already have the cash to pay for right now. No, I'm not talking about your gas, groceries, bills, any necessities. That's perfectly fine. But I'm talking about the new pair of headphones you don't need because your old one works perfectly fine. I'm talking about the 15 Smiskies you just checked out. A pair of jeans that you just bought last week. But you already have 15 pairs of the same shade, of that jean, of that wide leg jean. You don't need it. You already know how hard it is to earn every single dollar that's in your bank account right now. So let's make a list of things that you're actually excited to save for.
Hey people, so TikTok is a great place to get ideas from other fellow regular folks on how they're managing their money, tips that has helped them out either get out of debt or better manage their money. Of course, you have to get past the possible hackerization, the alleged hackerization of your stuff by using TikTok. So, find your way around that. But apart from that, TikTok is a great place to hear what other people are doing that has worked for them. So today's video, I'm going to share with you a couple videos with wonderful ideas. I think these are some great practical, keyword practical ideas that you can use to manage your money.
If you want to get out of the check to check cycle, you need to get a month ahead on your bills. It is going to change the game. This is how you do it. So basically you're going to sit down and you're going to list out all of your expenses, like all of your bills that have due dates, any of your debt payments, your rent, your water, your electricity, all that. And you can even add in, if you want, grocery money and gas money, but you don't have to add those. This is basically your total expense amount for the month. Now, what is that number? Take that number and add like $300 to $500 to it as a buffer. Then you're going to make it a goal to save up that amount of money. This is not going to happen overnight. It's a longer term savings goal, and that is okay. Once you hit that goal, you can set this plan into motion. The plan being, you put that amount, your expense amount that you just saved, put it into a separate account just for bills. Now go set all of your bills to auto pay from that bill account. Because you have the full amount in there, you don't really have to worry about it. You have a buffer as well, and your bills can just come out of that account. Now, when you get paid, take that expense amount and divide it by however many times a month you're paid. If you're paid bi-weekly, that's divided by 2. If you're paid weekly, divided by 4. The number you end up with is how much you need to send to your bill account each check to replenish it. Because as the bills auto pay out every month, the amount is going to go down, right? So when you're paid, you need to replenish that account so it constantly has enough money in it. If you're paid monthly, then you'll just send the entire amount to your bill account when you get paid. This is going to make it to where all of your bills are auto paying out of that account. You're no longer stressing about them. You're not even really thinking about them. They're paying themselves. And then when you get paid, you replenish that account. This allows you to get out of the check to check cycle because, like I said, it makes your budget more consistent and you're spending a lower amount per check on your bills instead of spending your whole check on one bill. Then later on your journey, you can go a step further by making all of your bills come off of a credit card to get rewards points or cash back or travel points or things like that. And then you do the same thing to your bill account, but you take the money in your bill account and you pay off your credit card each month. Try this out and see how it works for you. This changed my life. This has changed a ton of other people's lives too.
Love this idea. Even if you're not trying to get out from the paycheck to paycheck cycle, this is a wonderful, wonderful way to manage your money. And we're going to use the word manage, not the B word, not budget, because money is psychological. Saving money, managing money, paying up debt, anything that has to do with money starts off mentally, psychology. So if the word budget is, if it triggers negative feelings or if it makes you think punishment, then let's not even use that word. We'll stick to the word management, right? This is a wonderful idea for money management. It puts you in control, right? Rather than having one account where all your bills get paid from and your discretionary spending and your, surprise spending and unexpected spending, it's almost like having one cookie jar and everyone is sticking their hand in there and some are double dipping and you out of your control. With this idea, you have one account where your paycheck is going in, and then you move out what, all right, this is for you guys. Share among yourself. It puts you in control. It makes you feel more like you're in control. And it helps you see what you have left over. It helps you see what you're working with. It helps you stick to your plan, knowing I don't really have that much left, right? Or I do have a lot left. Where can we put some money? Let's increase saving. Or we need more money in. Can we cut back from this account because I can't live on just $30? And then you don't have to feel guilt about actually living, using that money to live because you've done the necessity, you've done the responsible part, the bills and the must do, the saving, all that. You've taken care of that. What I have left now in this account is what I'm free to use. I don't have to use it, but I'm free to use it and I can use it without guilt. And come the next month, whatever you have left, you can chuck away in a different savings account, the one you could use without guilt, even, right? So it's a wonderful way to go. And let's say this part, the realistic part. If your paycheck is low, if you don't have a lot left over after paying your essentials, it's going to take some time to save up one full paycheck to put you ahead. It will take time, that's a fact. But either way is hard. So choose your hard, right? Yes, have the patience. Over time, you have to do the hard work of saving up whatever is left over, whatever you can. And this is a great video to watch after this video for tips on how to really quickly save up one paycheck. I want to go through it in this video because we have other videos to play.
I could not understand for the longest time why I could not keep money in a savings account. I thought everyone else was doing it. Seemingly, all of the other fully functioning adults in the world seem to be able to see their checking account and then see that money in savings account right there. And then when their money in their checking account starts dwindling, not think to themselves that that money in that savings account is basically just rollover checking, baby. You can literally just, it's right there. It's right there. It's basically the same thing. The amount of times that I was maxing out the number of transfers that you could do between your savings and your checking without getting charged by banks, very often, every month. And that was because I had no emotional connection to that money. It made such a big difference when I started assigning that money to a goal that I actually gave a shit about. Because those of us with ADHD, it's very hard, if not impossible, for us to focus our attention and our time on things that we don't care about, right? Like if we have no interest in it, it's like impossible for us to make ourselves interested in it. So I found with my money, if I didn't have an emotional connection to what that savings was going toward, then it was literally and merely impossible for me to not just see it as money I could transfer into my checking whenever I needed more money to spend, or I needed to be able to make ends meet between a paycheck, because I was overspending in other ways. So instead, when I started labeling what that money was for and telling myself, if I only had $5 in that savings account, I knew what every single one of those $5 was going toward. And it was something that mattered to me. It wasn't something I was just saving for because I felt like I should be as an adult. Did that always stop me from overspending? No. Okay, let's be realistic here. But it gave me the ability to pause and actually make a decision that weighed future me in mind, not just current me.
Being specific with what you're saving for will help you if you struggle with leaving money in the savings account, right? Because for some of us, the problem isn't putting money into the account, it's leaving the money there. When you have a specific reason, when you actually label the account, some banks will let you label. My bank does, right? Where you can label it to something very personal. I think using the word fund is even making it a bit impersonal. Put under new car money, money for the new car, money for the new house, money for the fence. I'm working on my fence. Money for the new bed, or my money to be one paycheck ahead. When it's something very relatable, very personal, it's like tying an emotional string to it. And so chances of you taking money out is a lot less. It's building barriers to keep you from doing the negative behavior, right? Chances of you, because every time you take money out, you're not just taking money out from my savings. Now you're taking money out from the new car money. And doing that and seeing the name reminds you, this means it's going to take a lot longer. This means all the hard work I put towards saving for the car is going to take a lot longer to get a car. Because for us, remember, it's psychological, it's mental. For us, when we're naming it the new car, it's not just naming it the new car money. We've already envisioned the end goal of having a new car. We've already planned, we've already seen ourselves in a new car. And so the process or the behavior of taking money out from the new car money is like, that means it's going to take a lot longer for me to have the reality that I've already envisioned. Now you're really asking yourself, am I taking money out for what? For a new top? For what? To go out and eat? To buy what?
Things I'm doing to save money while trying to pay off a bunch of credit card debt. Okay, so I'll break this into two parts, lifestyle changes and actually like monetary changes. So as far as lifestyle changes go, first thing I'm doing is unfollowing people who make me hate my life. What I mean by that is people that have an extravagant lifestyle that is really great to look up to, and I love getting inspiration, but it just makes me want to spend money to try to be like them when I don't have the money to spend, and I need to realize that spending money I don't have isn't going to make me get any closer to being like them.
Comparison is the thief of joy. And unfortunately, in our world now, when the thief steals your joy, well, you can just buy more joy. All right. So, yes, unfollow people who make you hate your life. Because when you hate your life, how do we take care of that problem? We spend.
Anytime I see something that I want to buy, like clothes or jewelry or anything like that, I'm going to go to a thrift store and try to find a alternative rather than buying something for hundreds of dollars. Saying no to things. So when you're trying to save money, when you're trying to pay off debt, you're going to have to say no to doing things that cost a lot of money. This past year, I went on some trips, and I'm just going to have to tell certain people in my life that I will not be able to do that again this next year because I'm really trying to focus. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun. So it's like if somebody invites you to go to a fancy dinner, be like, look, I can't go to that dinner because I don't have the money, but I'd love to get together with you and like go for a walk or something, go for a hike, something that costs less money, get a coffee, cheaper options. Financially, I've started to create an actual budget and really try to stick to it. I recently balance transferred all of my credit card debt into one new card that has no interest. But on top of that, it's really important when you're balance transferring to stop using the cards that you're trying to get rid of, so that you're not having a balance transfer balance plus, spending those other credit cards again, because that's how they get you, because you just end up doubling your debt. So I'm really being mindful about how much I'm spending on my credit cards while paying off my balance transfer. Another thing that I'm doing is calculating how much money I have after each paycheck and what bills I need to pay for each paycheck, all without going into my savings and going into spending on my credit card, because that'll give me an actual idea of how much money I have left to save. So if I have $50 left after I get paid, then I gotta live off of that $50. I'm just gonna be really diligent with that. And then I think it's also important to try and save money for things that are going to bring you joy. So while you're paying off debt, you still deserve to have a life. You still deserve to have fun. You still deserve to treat yourself every once in a while. It's just about doing it in moderation. So on top of, paying off my debt, I'm putting a little bit towards a savings so that I can take my fiance on like a weekend trip for her birthday, Christmas presents, that kind of thing. That way I'm not, completely like not having a life while paying this off, because I do have a really aggressive plan that I'm trying to pay it, but I also know that it's important to be realistic. I think if you're too strict, then you're just gonna end up putting stuff on your credit card and you're not gonna sustain it. So that is what I'm doing.
We do need to balance things out, right? There's discipline, and then there's also living, especially if you have kids. I think if you don't have kids, you could, focus, put your head down for a year and a half, cool. I did that. But as a parent, I wouldn't do what I did when I was paying off my credit card. I don't think I would do it that way, because I do want to enjoy the word enjoy is a bit too deep. But I do understand that time in itself is currency. And so I will budget our money to have the B word. I will put some money aside to have some time with the kids, right? Or to have a good time to live. There's nothing wrong with allotting some money for we're going to McDonald's because the kids like McDonald's, or we're going to Chuck E. Cheese's or spring break, we're going to do this. Of course, if money's tight and I'm barely making ends meet, of course, we're not going to now take money for essential because time is limited. I would just find other ways to have time with the kids. What money affords is we get to have some other kind of fun, and also less stressful fun for me, the caregiver. And so buying McDonald's is a lot easier than running around in the park. You know what I mean? And I would do it. We have to be realistic, or not even realistic. We have to remember that as much as we are saving and we are paying up debt, we're also alive today, and tomorrow is not promised, right? So there's nothing wrong with bringing out some money for living because you are supposed to live. Life should not be miserable. You should live. And even if you're doing the Dave Ramsey steps, because let's face it, there's an elephant in the room, and you're eating rice and beans and rice. Well, your living, because you still want to stick to the steps, your living could be, all right, we're buying better pork, we're buying better beef, we're buying rather than chicken, you know what, we'll buy beef and use it as steak. That's your living. So you can still tailor this idea of living to what your financial plan is. You know, if you're doing the Dave Ramsey style, your living could be, all right, we are still going to put every money towards that except $20. You know, $20 we're going to order pizza, but rather than the fancy pizza, we're going to order generic pizza, or we're going to get frozen pizza from the grocery store, and that's your living. Let's find ways to still live while we are planning for tomorrow. Planning is easy. Sticking to the plan, that's where the hard work is. So you want to do everything you could possibly do to help you stick to the plan, and giving yourself some little enjoyment, do it for the enjoyment, the living is what would help you stick to the budget. And then you're most likely going to hit your goal because you're actually enjoying the ride. Now, it's going to be hard. It's sacrifice. Like she said, saying no, you have to learn to say no. There's going to be sacrifice, and sacrifice is not a fun thing. Sacrifice is painful, right? So this is in a way your way to kind of balance out the pain of sacrifice with living.
Here's 60 seconds of budgeting advice I'd give my best friend if she were starting from zero. Coming from someone who's been budgeting for over 8 years and used budgeting to save 100K on a lower income. 1. The first step is to get in the habit of tracking your money. Don't think about what you should be spending or try to restrict yourself at first. I promise that simply tracking your spending will be eye-opening. 2. The easiest way to do this is to get into a money routine. I have a weekly routine where every Saturday I make myself a fancy coffee and track my expenses. It only takes me 10 minutes a week, but since you're new to this, it'll probably take you about 15 to 20 at first. Do it anyway. 3. If you don't feel motivated to track your spending or find it overwhelming, I want you to use psychology to start. You need to either habit stack, reward yourself, or both. 4. Once you've been tracking for a couple of weeks, you will naturally start to realize that some things you're spending money on are not worth it. These are going to be the first things you try cutting from your budget at the beginning of the next month. 5. Do not over-restrict yourself when you are making cuts to your budget. If you're currently spending over $100 a month on Starbucks and you suddenly drop down to $0, you're probably going to resent your budget and end up giving up. Start by cutting back to $50 and take that other $50 and immediately put it into savings. 6. Anything new is going to be hard at first. You're going to spend on certain things and regret it. You're going to feel angry that you didn't do this sooner, and it might be hard for you to determine what's worth your money at first. I promise you will get better as time goes on. Don't give up. You can do this.
Yes, if you first start off with just tracking your spending, remember I said money, it's all mental, it's all psychology. If you track what you spend, and that would immediately improve your spending behavior immediately, because you're seeing you're behind, right? And it could actually work the other way too. It could show you you're actually not as bad as you think with money. And so therefore lose the anxiety, lose the self-esteem, the low self-esteem, or the cowarding you do when it comes to money. Now you can be sure of yourself. Like, I'm actually doing good. So starting by just tracking your spending is a good way to go. And if you're the type that don't like tracking every dollar, I have seasons in life where I love it, I enjoy it, and sometimes I'm like, I have too much on my plate. I don't want to do it. So you could set up your money in a certain way where you don't have to. If you set up your account like the first girl said, the first lady said, having a different account, you never really have to go track what happened with your bills account, because technically you already know, right? You only focus on the discretionary, tracking how you spent, and depending on how much is left over, it may not even worth the time to go checking how you spent $100 or whatever, right? You know, listen, that's my guilt-free discretionary, or that's what I use for groceries. Whatever I used there was for groceries, and that's that. So that's a good idea. And then the most important thing she said here that I think is great is the word routine can seem so burdensome, like it's a lot. It's really not routine, it's just a behavior. It's all psychological, right? And so if you can flip that to work in your favor, better, right? So if you're the type, you hate the idea of going to look at your account, see how much you spent last month and how, well, make it a thing, make it a good thing. So make it a Saturday morning chilling with my cup of coffee thing. right? I'm with my cup of coffee, have my blanket, and I go through my account. It's not just like we changed the word budget into management, right? Take out the punishment part of it of, no, I have to see how I messed up my money. No, no, no. We're grown. It's our money. Okay, so we made a mistake last month. All right, we're doing this to fix it this month. You take ownership and make it fun, right? Or it could be a Friday night for you. Some of us are not going anywhere because we're trying not to spend, right? So it could be a Friday night thing for you. Have something playing on TV, make the place cozy, relax, and that's the routine. Sometimes the words make it seem complicated. It's just the idea of making that process a positive thing, mental. If there's one thing you take away from this video, is that everything new is going to hurt at first, except the stuff we like. It's going to be hard, right? Expect it not to be the easiest thing the first month, and just keep your mind on the goal. Expect it when you go in thinking, oh, because you've written in your fancy book, or because you've had this fancy process of writing your budget out or planning your money out, you've had that cozy moment, and so now you know, Sound of Music comes to mind when she's in the prairie. Expect that it will be tough to begin with, because then when it gets tough, you're prepared, you're ready for it. You're more likely to fall off the wagon if you're expecting it to go smooth. And now here comes you're wanting to buy that cute top, and now you can't buy it because you didn't plan for that. Expect it to be challenging at first. It's not impossible, but because it's not your usual behavior, it will be challenging at first. These are all wonderful, wonderful money management ideas. Love them. And I'll bring more of this to you. We'll be bringing more, because a great way to help you manage your money is hearing what other people do and you can relate, right? Be careful though with TikTok. There's some horrible ideas and there are a lot of sales. People just trying to sell you stuff, right? All right, people. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what tips you'll be implementing in your life, and I will see you in the next one.